The silence after the fall. The noise came first. Sharp, loud, glass everywhere. A crashing sound that made everyone freeze. Anna stood still near the edge of the set. Her hands trembled just enough to be noticed if anyone had been watching her instead of the damage. A priceless art piece had fallen, shattered. The director turned, eyes wide, voice already rising. "Who did that?" The room was filled with people, crew members, makeup artists, lighting techs, producers. But somehow, in that huge space, every eye turned slowly to Anna. She was closest. She wasn't touching anything. She hadn't moved. But she was standing near it. And that was enough. Someone whispered her name. Someone else muttered something about her always being distracted lately. And just like that, the weight began to shift. Anna didn't speak. It wasn't fear. It was something quieter, heavier, like shame. But not because she had done something wrong, because she had seen this before. She had seen people decide a story before asking for truth. The producer stepped closer. He didn't yell. That would have made him look bad, but his tone was sharp like broken glass. "Anna, this piece cost over $100,000. Do you know how important it was to the scene?" She looked up at him finally. Her eyes didn't have answers, only confusion. "I didn't touch it," she said softly. But even to her own ears, it didn't sound like enough. Someone called for security. Someone else said they should review the cameras. The director rubbed his temple and muttered something about wasting daylight. Anna stepped back. People moved away from her like she carried blame on her shoulders. Then a voice rose, calm but full, solid like a hand reaching through smoke. It was me. Everyone turned. Keanu was standing just a few feet away, quiet as always, his expression soft but certain. His black hoodie was unzipped, his left hand held a water bottle, and his right hand was shaking ever so slightly. He had bumped the stand while stepping backward, not even realizing. He had seen it fall. He had frozen like the rest of them. But the difference was, he had remembered. "I wasn't paying attention," he said again. "I stepped back too fast. It was me." The room paused, and something shifted. Anna looked at him. Her chest didn't rise, didn't fall. She just stared. No one spoke for a moment. Even the producer looked confused. But Anna was standing right there. Keanu nodded. "I know, and I didn't speak fast enough. I should have said it sooner, but I was embarrassed." The silence thickened. Anna took one small breath. It felt like a thunderstorm inside her lungs. Keanu stepped forward, slow, humble. "You all can review the cameras. I don't mind." But she didn't do anything. I did. The crew didn't know what to say. Some looked down, others looked away. The director sighed. "Okay, someone get the props team. We'll figure out a workaround." People began to move again, but Anna didn't move. Her feet were heavy. Her eyes stayed locked on Keanu. Her lips parted, but no sound came. It wasn't that she didn't know what to say. It was that there was too much to say. When the room cleared a little, she finally stepped toward him. "You didn't have to," she whispered. Keanu tilted his head, gave a faint smile. "Yes, I did." Anna shook her head, her voice caught between grateful and confused. "But you could have stayed quiet. They all believed it. You didn't have to take the hit." He looked at her, and there was something deep in his eyes. Not sadness, not pride. Something older. Something kind. "There's a difference between taking a hit," he said, "and returning what never belonged to someone else." Anna looked away, her throat thick. "Thank you." Keanu just nodded. "You okay?" She laughed once, but it broke halfway. "I think so. They stood there for a moment longer. The set moved around them, people resetting lights and shifting props. But in that quiet little bubble between the two of them, something had changed. Not just because of what happened, but because someone had seen her, really seen her, and chosen to protect her when it would have been easier to walk away. Anna would never forget that, and neither would the ones who saw it. Because something was beginning, and not just between two actors on a set. It was a moment of truth. And truth has a way of growing roots where silence used to live. The weight she never dropped. Anna sat alone on the metal steps behind the sound stage. The air was warm, but she pulled her jacket tight anyway. It wasn't the cold that made her shiver. It was the feeling that had been growing in her chest for weeks, maybe months. Like something inside her was trying to breathe but kept getting pressed down. Like a quiet scream that never found a way out. The sky above the studio was still blue, but too bright, too open. She stared at her hands resting in her lap. They didn't shake. They didn't move. They just sat there like they didn't know what they were for anymore. She had thought she was doing okay, showing up, smiling, memorizing lines, staying quiet when the room got too loud. But something had shifted in her after her last film. Too many questions about her body. Too little interest in her thoughts. She had started to feel like a shell walking through a world that only wanted the outside of her. And today almost broke her. Being blamed wasn't the worst part. She had been blamed before. The worst part was how fast it happened. How quickly the room decided she must have been the one. How their silence echoed louder than any accusation. Until Keanu. His voice hadn't been loud, but it changed everything. He didn't defend her with anger. He didn't look for credit. He just stepped into the space where truth was needed, and gave it. She hadn't even said thank you properly. Not really. Because something inside her had locked up when he looked at her with that kind of kindness. A door creaked behind her. She didn't turn. Keanu's footsteps were always the same, soft but steady, like someone who never wanted to interrupt anyone's peace. "Mind if I sit?" he asked gently. She shook her head without looking up. He lowered himself beside her on the step. Not too close, not too far. They sat there in silence for a while. Anna didn't try to fill it. Neither did he. Then finally, she spoke. "You didn't just step in. You stopped something. You stopped it from spreading." Keanu turned to her. "I've seen that kind of silence before. The kind that lets harm grow." She nodded slowly. "It's heavy." He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "It gets heavier when no one says anything." Anna's hands curled slightly. "I've been carrying a lot lately. I didn't even notice how much until today." Keanu looked forward, past the parking lot, into the horizon. Sometimes we don't notice until someone tries to hand us something else to carry, and we drop everything. Her eyes filled with tears, not because of what he said, but because it felt like he had seen her without needing her to explain anything. "I feel like I've been walking on a wire for months," she said softly. Smiling, showing up, saying the right things, and still, they look for a reason to doubt me. "That's not on you," Keanu said gently. She looked at him, voice cracking. "But I keep wondering if I'm the problem. Maybe if I was stronger, louder, maybe they wouldn't." He shook his head. "No, don't carry their fear as your failure." She wiped her face with the sleeve of her jacket. "You always know the right thing to say." "No," he replied, smiling faintly. "I just try not to lie when it matters." Anna leaned back slightly and looked up at the sky. "Why did you speak up for me?" Keanu's voice was quiet but certain. "Because if I didn't, the lie would have stayed. And it would have grown. I've watched that happen before, to people who didn't deserve it." Anna swallowed hard. "Thank you. You don't owe me anything." But I feel like I do. Just breathe, he said. That's enough. They sat in silence again. But this time it felt different. Like the silence wasn't empty. Like it was holding space for something real. Keanu stood first. He didn't rush, just slowly rose and offered her his hand. She looked up at it, then took it. He helped her to her feet. They're calling us back in, he said gently. She nodded. As they walked side by side back toward the set, something small shifted in Anna's chest. It wasn't loud, it wasn't sudden, but it was there. A little space where fear used to live, now filled with something warmer. Not because everything was fixed, but because someone had seen her pain and stayed. And maybe that was the beginning of healing. Maybe it always was. Whispers in the light the next morning, the set felt different. Not louder, not calmer, just quieter in the wrong places. Anna walked into the makeup trailer and felt it right away. Not in what people said, but in what they didn't. The stylist didn't look her in the eye. The assistant who usually offered her coffee just nodded once and looked away. Even the director's voice on the speakers seemed to pause when her name came up. She wasn't being blamed out loud anymore, but the whispers had already done their damage. It didn't matter that Keanu had told the truth. It didn't matter that security footage backed him up. People remembered what they first believed, and now they carried it in the corners of their eyes. Anna sat still as the brush touched her cheeks. Her hands rested in her lap, calm on the surface. But inside, she felt like a thread slowly unraveling. Not from the outside, but from all the times she'd stayed quiet to keep the peace. Keanu wasn't in yet. His trailer was still closed, but somehow she felt his absence more than anything else. On set, the scene was heavy. Two characters arguing across a long table. A dramatic moment. The kind that required timing, tension, control. But Anna's mind drifted halfway through her lines, just enough for the director to say, "Cut," a little too loudly. He didn't shout, not exactly, but the tone bit hard. "Anna, we need you in this. Can we focus, please?" She nodded, her jaw tight. The lights felt hotter now, the camera too close. "Take 5, someone called. Anna walked off to the edge of the set and sat by herself again. It was becoming a pattern. Just then, a shadow fell beside her. "You okay?" Keanu's voice was gentle, but it held weight, like he already knew the answer. She looked up, forced a small smile. "Just a long morning." He sat down next to her, cross-legged like a child. Calm. Grounded. "I heard them," he said quietly. She looked at him. "Heard who?" "The ones whispering, saying it still felt off, that maybe you reacted guilty." Anna let out a dry laugh. "Funny how silence can be mistaken for guilt." Keanu nodded. "Especially from women." Her eyes widened slightly. "You noticed that too?" "It's not new," he said. "They say speak up, and when you do, they say too emotional. Stay quiet, they say something to hide. It's a game you're not meant to win." Anna leaned forward, elbows on her knees. "So what do I do?" Keanu was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "You speak anyway. Not because it'll fix them, but because it'll free you." She looked at him, her voice soft. "You think they'll listen?" "Maybe not all," he said. "But someone will. And maybe that one is enough." She sat back, breathing slow. "I'm tired of pretending this doesn't affect me." "Then stop pretending," he said. "Let them see what's real." Anna stood slowly. Something shifted in her shoulders. Not heavy anymore, but firm. Later that day, during a lunch break, she asked the assistant director if she could have a moment with the crew. "Just 5 minutes." just her and them. He looked surprised, but nodded. Soon after, a group of people gathered near the soundstage. Gaffers, techs, makeup artists, camera operators, all eating sandwiches or scrolling through their phones. Anna stood in front of them, her heart pounding. Keanu stood to the side, quiet, present. Anna cleared her throat. I know some of you still believe I broke that piece, even after Keanu said it was him, even after the footage. Maybe it's because I didn't say anything fast enough. Maybe it's because I stood there frozen. She looked around. No one spoke. I froze because I've been carrying a lot, she continued. Not just from this set, from every set before. From interviews that asked about my looks before my thoughts. From producers who praised me but never learned my name. From directors who told me to be softer, smaller, quieter. Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. I didn't touch that piece. But I stood there because I knew deep down that being blamed wasn't new, and I didn't have the energy to fight it again. Not in that moment. Some faces lowered, others finally looked at her. But I'm speaking now, because the silence was never safety. It was just survival. And I don't want to survive quietly anymore. She let the words fall, raw and trembling. Then she turned and walked off. Keanu followed a few seconds later. Behind them, no one clapped. But no one whispered either, just stillness. And in stillness, sometimes truth begins to grow. Echoes from behind the lens. The next day came quiet. Anna didn't expect anything. Not apology, not applause. Her words the day before weren't for them, not really. They were for her. To clear space in her own heart. To stop shrinking. Still, something was different when she stepped on set. Not in the big ways. People still moved around her the same, called out cues, touched up makeup, adjusted lighting. But something in their eyes had softened. Not pity, not fear, just awareness. Someone had listened. Anna sat at the side of the studio reading her lines when a woman from the camera crew slowly walked up. Her name tag said Marie, mid-30s, always wore headphones, barely spoke unless it was tech-related. Marie stood there awkwardly, shifting from one foot to the other. Anna looked up. Hey. Marie didn't smile, but her eyes were full. I saw you yesterday, she said. Heard what you said. Anna set down the script. Thank you for listening. Marie shook her head slowly. I didn't just listen. I felt it. Anna stayed silent. Marie looked at the floor. My first job was as an assistant on a set in London. One day a cable came loose and someone tripped. A minor fall, but the whole shoot stopped. And they looked at me. I hadn't touched anything. But I was the youngest, the only woman, and they said it must have been me. Anna's breath caught. Marie's voice wavered. I didn't fight it. I apologized, and I carried it. For years. Still do sometimes. She looked up now, her voice firmer. But when you spoke, something cracked. Like maybe I didn't have to carry it forever. Anna blinked away tears. You didn't deserve that. Neither did you, Marie said. But you still stood up. They didn't hug, didn't say anything else. But when Marie walked away, something warm lingered in Anna's chest. Like courage passing quietly from one woman to another. Later that afternoon, between takes, the director approached Anna. It wasn't normal. He rarely came over unless something was wrong. Got a moment? He asked, not unkindly. Anna nodded. They walked toward a quieter corner of the studio. He looked tired, not angry, just thoughtful. I saw the playback again, the day the sculpture fell. Anna waited. You really didn't move. No, she said softly. And Keanu? He nodded slowly. He told the truth, from the start. Anna stayed silent. The director sighed. I think I wanted someone to blame. Not because it made sense, but because it made it easier. And you were right there. I know, she whispered. He looked her in the eye for the first time in days. I'm sorry. She nodded, barely. Not out of weakness, but because she didn't need more than that. Not now. You spoke yesterday, he added. What you said, it mattered. Anna blinked. I wasn't sure anyone would hear it. He nodded slowly. They did. And so did I. He stepped back, but then hesitated. We're filming a new piece next month. Smaller cast, deeper script. I'd like to offer you the lead. Anna stared at him. Me? Yes. Not just for the acting, but for the presence. People follow truth. Her throat closed for a moment. Thank you. Don't thank me, he said. You earned it. When he walked away, Keanu appeared beside her, like he'd been nearby the whole time. Maybe he had. He raised an eyebrow. Was that what I think it was? She smiled, really smiled. I think so. Keanu tilted his head. How do you feel? Anna exhaled. Seen. Keanu smiled. Good. They walked back toward the lights, toward the cameras, toward the noise. But inside her, there was a quiet she hadn't felt in a long time. Not silence. Peace. And peace, once found, is hard to unsee. The ripple she didn't plan the new project began quietly. No big press release, no red carpet, just early mornings and late nights and coffee that never stayed hot for long. Anna stepped onto the smaller set 3 weeks later with a different kind of weight. It wasn't fear anymore. It was responsibility. For the first time, she wasn't just playing the lead. She was the center of a story that mattered. Not because of who she was on screen, but because of what she had already done off-screen. The cast was smaller, the crew tighter, the director more present. There were no assumptions this time, no whispers waiting to catch her misstep. And yet, Anna didn't feel like she had something to prove, only something to protect. On the second day of filming, during a break, a young wardrobe assistant approached her, nervous, holding a clipboard too close to her chest. I just wanted to say, thank you, she said. Anna looked up from her tea. For what? The girl hesitated. For speaking up that day. I wasn't even on that set, but the clip went around. People sent it, not for gossip, for strength. Anna smiled gently. I didn't plan for it to be seen. But it was, the girl said. And now, some of us don't feel so invisible. Anna reached out and touched the girl's hand lightly. Then I'm glad it was. By week 2, something unexpected happened. The producers called Anna into a meeting. She prepared herself for a change in the schedule or a delay in script delivery. But instead, they sat her down and asked if she would consider helping guide the tone of future sets, mentoring younger actresses, helping shape crew culture. She stared at them, stunned. Me? You changed how people feel on set, one of them said. And Keanu, he vouched for you. Said you didn't just act with grace. You carried it. Anna didn't know what to say. So she just nodded. Because yes, she would. It wasn't about being in control. It was about protecting the ones who came in quiet and left without ever being heard. Meanwhile, Keanu visited the new set once. Not as a cast member, not for publicity, just to see her. He walked in with that same slow step, Hoodie, soft eyes, humble smile. Heard the new queen has a throne, he joked gently. Anna laughed. I don't want a throne. I just want people to feel safe. Then you're already doing more than most, he said. They sat together on a bench outside the sound stage, sipping from paper cups, not saying much. Then Keanu turned to her. You're changing things, Anna. I don't feel like I'm doing enough. You are, he said simply, because you're doing it without needing to be seen. She looked down. What you did back then, stepping in when you didn't have to, that changed me. I didn't do much. You did enough. He nodded. That's all we can ever do. Enough. A week later, during filming, a scene was paused when one of the background actors, a man in his 40s, quiet, soft-spoken, was accused of messing up a lighting cue. It happened fast. Voices raised. A grip stormed off. The assistant director looked ready to cut the man from the scene. Anna stepped in. She didn't yell. She walked over, placed her hand on the man's shoulder, and said quietly, We don't decide guilt by who's closest. The room froze. It was familiar. But this time the ending was different. Someone checked the footage. Someone else admitted they'd unplugged the cue by mistake. The man stayed. No apology was needed. Anna walked back to her spot. No one said a word, but in the silence, she had taught the room something again. Keanu had passed her the match. She lit the flame. And now, one by one, others were using it to see clearer. The quiet that stayed months passed. The film wrapped early, no drama, no broken glass, no raised voices behind closed doors. Just quiet focus, steady teamwork, and something else too, respect. A word too rarely spoken, but now felt in every room Anna stepped into. The studio noticed, not just the producers, but the heads. Anna received a call one morning before her tea was even warm. The woman on the other end introduced herself slowly, clearly, like she wanted Anna to understand this wasn't a joke. We'd like to recognize you, she said. Your leadership has created something rare on our sets. Safety. Anna blinked, still in her robe. Recognize how? With the Integrity Award, it's new. You'll be the first. Anna sat back on her couch, stunned. She didn't even know such a thing existed. We'll announce it at the annual studio ceremony, the woman continued. We hope you'll attend. Anna agreed. Of course she did. But inside her, something small stirred, something unsure. She hadn't done all this to be seen. And yet maybe being seen wasn't always about ego. Maybe it was about example. The ceremony was quiet and bright, full of smiles that felt polished. Cameras flashed. People clapped for others in tailored suits and dresses made of silence. Anna wore blue, simple, soft, a color that made her feel like herself. She stepped up to the stage when her name was called. The room applauded, but her ears buzzed with something louder than sound. Memory. Of being blamed. Of standing frozen. Of Keanu's voice, steady and kind. She stood at the microphone, looked out at a room full of faces she once feared would never hear her. Now they waited. She took a breath. Thank you, she said softly. This means something to me, but it doesn't belong to me alone. The room shifted. Months ago, something broke on set, and people assumed it was me. They didn't mean harm, they just followed habit. The habit of blaming the one who seems quiet, unsure, closest. She looked at no one in particular, yet everyone. I didn't defend myself, not right away. I froze, because I'd been taught that speaking only made the silence louder. A few people nodded. One woman near the front wiped her eyes. But then someone else spoke. Her voice cracked now. Keanu Reeves stepped forward. He didn't defend me to get applause. He told the truth because it was right. The room went still. Anna smiled gently. So if this award is for integrity, I can't hold it without holding his name beside it. There were murmurs now, soft, surprised. Keanu taught me that one voice can stop a lie before it grows. And after that, he didn't lead me. He walked beside me. She held the trophy low in her hands now, not raised, just held. So thank you. I accept this. But more than that, I promise to keep using my voice, not louder, just clearer. The room clapped, not wildly, but with meaning. Afterward, behind the curtains, away from the lights, Keanu waited, not in a suit, not with a smile, just with a quiet presence like always. You didn't have to mention me, he said when she reached him. Anna shook her head. Yes, I did. He shrugged. I would have done it anyway. I know, she said. They sat down on a bench just outside the venue. People walked by, not recognizing them in the dark. The stars above didn't blink. The wind was soft. Anna looked at him. Do you regret it? What? Saying it was you, when you could have stayed silent. Keanu looked at the night sky, then at her. Not for a second. Even when they looked at you weird? He smiled. Truth has its own rhythm, even when it's offbeat. She laughed lightly. You always speak like a poet. I just think slow. They sat together in that stillness. Anna leaned her head on his shoulder. Not romantic, not dramatic, just grateful. Thank you for stepping forward, she whispered. He tilted his head against hers. Thank you for never stepping back. And in that moment, under no lights, with no cameras, the story ended. Not with applause, but with peace. And this time it stayed.